Today on Fret Tips, we will be looking at one of the most elusive elements of guitar playing, and that's feeling. Now you can call it playing with feeling, soul, or emotion. It's the kind of playing that moves you, that makes you feel something. And I know many people who keep wondering, what am I missing? How come my playing sounds stale, one-dimensional, or simply lacks that element that makes people go, wow, that kind of playing really moves me. So if you're looking for that, you came to the right place. There's three basic elements to developing feel, and number one is listening. And this step is just as important as the two other steps, so don't skip it. Listening to musicians that move you is important because emulating their playing is the foundation you'll be working on at the beginning. Now, your style will eventually develop into something unique and your own, but the basic vocabulary to get you started will be coming from that. So first, to get you started, listen to guitarists that play soulfully to you. Now, for me, that was B.B. King, Carlos Santana, Jeff Beck, Mark Knopfler, David Gilmour, Derek Trucks, Eric Clapton, Andy Timmons, John Mayer, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Sean Lane, Django Reinhardt, many others that really got me into this type of playing from the very beginning. Now, the other musicians that inspired me were singers like Aretha Franklin, Stevie Wonder, Sam Cooke, Del Shannon, Lauryn Hill, Celine Dion, Ray Charles, Otis Redding, and tons more. And also saxophone players like Sonny Stitt and David Sanborn and Paul Desmond. There's also harmonica, violin, flute players you might want to check out as well. Now, since I actually started out from a classical piano background, a lot of my inspiration about the general dynamics, the ebb and flow of playing, comes from that. So you might want to check out classical pianists playing Chopin, or Liszt, Schubert, or Beethoven, and listen to some classically trained jazz pianists like Bill Evans or Oscar Peterson. So once you have your listening material covered, then there's part two. And part two is actually playing and emulating this kind of playing. Now at this point, I've heard many players say, yeah, I'm playing their licks, but it just isn't getting there. Where's the problem? When does this kind of lick become this kind of lick? Now, what are the things I added for the second lick to sound so much better? Now, there's four things: dynamics, rhythmic variation, articulation, and inflections. And here is how to tame all four of these elements. Now, first, to practice dynamics, let's start with a simple phrase. Let's take the one I played. Now play the first note loudly and the second quietly, the third one loudly, and the final note quietly again, like this. Practice that phrase to a metronome so it gets comfortable and slowly bring up the tempo to your usual playing speed. And next, reverse that starting with a quiet note and repeat the process. This will train your control over the dynamics within a single phrase. Now apply that to any lick or scale you learn, and you will slowly start to feel more and more in control of your dynamics. Now there's another type of dynamics to work on, and that's the ebb and flow. This means the kind of rise and fall in dynamics, tension and release. It adds yet another dimension to your playing. So to practice that, try a scale, for example the A major scale, and choose a target note, the apex where your playing will be the loudest. Now start playing at the beginning of the scale and slowly increase the volume of your playing until you reach the target note. Now choose another target note and repeat the process. These two types of practice, the focused dynamics And the ebb and flow dynamics will help you get a sense of dynamic leading in your soloing, connecting and highlighting the phrases. To practice element number 2, rhythmic variation, you must first be able to play exactly on the beat. Let's use the same phrase and play it over the metronome with every note on the beat. Now let's add some rhythmic variation. I won't be going into exact details of the beats, what semiquaver or triple drops on which beat, because I will be giving you some improvised examples. The main key is repeating the same variation several times over, but still feeling the basic beat the whole time. Now, let's check out a few of these. Now, the purpose of these rhythmical exercises will actually give you the freedom to move away from playing on the beat and move freely within the beat, landing on the beat for accentuation or release when you create tension with rhythmic patterns. And this kind of offbeat rhythmic variation is also known as syncopation. You can extend this kind of practice to any lick, scale, or arpeggio you are working on. Okay, next up is articulation. Without going into too much detail, there are two basic forms of music articulation. That's staccato and legato, with staccato meaning short or separated, and legato meaning long or continuous. Now to practice that, let's take that A major scale again, and let's play staccato. Now let's play it legato, with emphasis on trying to connect all the notes, especially when transitioning from one string to another. Okay, now the final element are inflections. Now this is a huge group to cover, as it includes bending, vibrato, slides, hammer-ons, pull-offs, as well as more advanced techniques such as tapping, pinch harmonics, working the trem or whammy bar, and any combination of these techniques like the bend tap or the slide tap. So we'll be focusing on the two big ones, bending and vibrato. Now to practice bending, choose your starting note and then play your target note, remembering the pitch. And then bring the starting note up to the pitch of the target note. Now if you're unsure of the accuracy of your pitch, check it with a tuner. Do that for semitones, full tones, a tone and a semitone, and two full tones. Now, to get your ear and fingers really working, try working back from the bent note to the starting note. Play the target note, and then bend the starting note and play it at the point where you feel it's the same as the target note. And repeat the target note again to check. Keep in mind that bending on different areas of your neck will require different amount of strength to bring the string to the desired pitch. So practice bending closer to the nut as well to build up your finger strength. For vibrato, keep in mind that it's also a rhythmical device, so you will have to practice it with a metronome. It's basically a repetitive bend, but in time it will develop into a vocal-like warble that's essential to playing with feeling. Now, there are a few different common types of vibrato. There's a classical, side to side, sideways wrist rotation, an upward finger push, or a freehand neck shake. Now, to work on any of these, turn on your metronome and repeat a shallow bend to the beat. When you get to a high number of beats per minute on the metronome, you might try splitting the tempo in half and double the tempo of the vibrato. That way, you will develop a vibrato that will follow the beat, and eventually you will identify what kind of timing suits the solo best. A triplet or eighth note vibrato are two of the most common. These 4 types of exercises will get you far and, most importantly, help you develop control over your tone. But the most important exercise of all is working on the solos and the licks of musicians that you find soulful. Now listen to their phrasing, the inflections, articulation, their dynamics, and play along, reproducing as much of these distinctive characteristics as you can. And to really get there, you'll have to work on the final basic element, and that's the 3rd step, recording yourself. Now use a phone, a voice recorder, camera, anything. Record your playing and then compare it to the players you're learning from. Now listen for all the distinctive characteristics and be critical of your playing. It's a learning experience, not a performance. And looking for things your playing is lacking and working on that is what will eventually make you a better player. Now, all these exercises are intended to give you greater control over your playing, enhance your contact with the string, and how well you manipulate the volume and pitch of your tone. But what you consider playing with feeling and what you want to play, that's up to you. Now keep on practicing, type your tips or suggestions in the comments below, click like and subscribe, and see you next time.